right. Hello and welcome, everybody. You got Jack and Larson here of Gondola with our second episode of Après Sales. Après Sales about everything software sales, startups, investing, funding, or just personal items too, just talking through that and just having good conversation around some of those topics here today. And today what we're talking about is how to create really compelling offers or pricing or packaging, and from a book that Jack had read called The $100 Million Offer, which we'll get into. But first, Jack, what are you drinking on this afternoon?
I'm enjoying a delicious Surly Furious IPA. They're a Minnesota brewery. I actually grew up in Minnesota, so saw this
Nice.
at the store the other day. Couldn't resist. It's pretty wonderful.
Excellent. Well, it's been a long week. I got a Stone IPA here. Huge fan. Love this beer. It's fantastic. Cheers, my friend, before we jump in. It's been a long week, good week, and let's have some good conversation here today. But first, before we get started, why don't you tell me a little bit more about, you kind of brought this idea to us. So the $100 million offer, tell me where it came from and what kind of inspired you to bring it to us.
Yeah. So the book actually wasn't called $100 million Offer. Or at least I don't think. Maybe part of it was. We can link to it here, but it came from a guy named Russell Brunson who runs a software product called ClickFunnels, but has a ton of content and really really insightful books, especially for young companies like us and figuring out how to build sales funnels and a lot of things like that. But I think the $100 million offer part is one that stuck with me so hard about really how to craft offers you just can't say no to, which is so important. Challenging as a startup, challenging as a large company, even right now in this, environment that we're in. And it means something different, depending on the context that you're in, but there's a way to craft that offer you can't say no to no matter what you're in. And that's what I want to talk about.
Yeah. Well, it's. I tell you, when you came to us and kind of talked to me a little bit more about this, it just made sense. It's like whether it's in the early days of a whole company or early days of a singular product, you're just trying to get to results. You're trying to prove out what your solution is able to do to have social proof behind what you're claiming. And once you get past that spot, it can be a little bit easier to move deals along. But I think the whole point of this is how do you create momentum in sales cycles and make it really, really easy just to say yes. And reduce all the risk and fears that any prospect might have. So why don't you tell me a little bit more, like, where does this start? Like, where did it kind of start for?
Yeah, well, like you said, for a startup that's like pre-product or early product, you don't have any results whatsoever to talk about. And so giving it away for free, and not just giving a product away for free, but giving away an incredible experience for free. Mm-hmm. So if you're a software product, yeah, sure, that might be giving your product away for free, but what else are you adding, right? You should be with that customer daily or weekly at minimum, making sure that all their needs are met and that you're quickly responding to any product feedback and things like that. But even as an established company launching a new product line, when Slack, for example, was releasing huddles, I think they did a private beta group, and that didn't end up being a paid product for them. But even if it was eventually going to be a paid product, that private beta group that, hey, I'm gonna give them this away for free. It's a really awesome tool. But then they were able to build up the testing and the testimonials about how it changed the way it worked, the way we work. I mean, it really did change how we work, that huddles feature. And so, it can apply on early companies or existing companies too.
Yeah, certainly. I mean, it does take me back to, I think, 2 years ago when we were certainly in the earlier days and just trying to create really compelling offers with people that may have been kind of on the fence, and really doing or being as strategic as possible with whatever we can give to you. And, we've always been kind of known for great customer experience and turning product around quickly and fixing things and being very attentive to people. So that's all a part of that experience, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, I couldn't agree more. And, the other people too that has done this really well is Drata. Remember Drata back when they first launched, like when they first met with you, I remember you coming to us and saying, hey, this is what we need. This is how they can help us. And it was just like a great, easy way to say yes. So shout out to Drata on some great work there with the launch of their product.
Yeah, it really was an incredible offer. I mean, there's anyone that doesn't know Drata, I'm happy to give them a shout out. We're on their testimonials page anyway, which is another thing you should have when you have these results. But, they went from, I think, seed stage to $1 billion valuation, and it was either just under a year or just over a year. So pretty incredible growth. And 8 months, yeah.
8 months, yeah.
And honestly, it's no surprise to me after being a part of that interaction, because as a super young startup at that point, we got a white glove service, calls with their CEO. I still meet with their head of customer success, even with them as a billion-dollar plus company right now because of like the way they treat those early relationships. And
Mm-hmm.
that is a great call out and case study for how to do this right.
Indeed. Indeed. Yeah. I think, one of the things that, I want to loop back to that you kind of mentioned was, creating packages that includes kind of unexpected value. Like I think
Yeah.
when we're selling software, it's like, yeah, here's a seat of the software, or here's how it's going to work, which is what people expect, right? I'm coming to you, I have a problem, you have a solution, but you got to find ways to give value outside of that, the things that they don't expect. And so even things that we've done is as of late is cool. Tell me what your discovery call process should look like. Let me walk you through an entire workshop and we'll revamp that entire thing, take all the assets that you have currently and make it really front and center for all of your reps. Nobody's asking or expecting us to do this. And it includes a software license or licenses if you need that. And so it's just finding ways to create these package deals that include value that nobody really thought that was going to be there and kind of comes up out of nowhere.
Yeah. And, great point on our end. And I think one of the best examples from those books that we were referencing from Russell Brunson was he had an example up there where as he was, building his network and actually running conferences, or at least speaking at conferences, one of the examples he used is he went on stage and held his iPhone up and said, in the next 10 minutes, I'm going to convince somebody to offer me $100,000 for this iPhone, and started it with like, who'd give it to me? Who'd give $100,000 for this iPhone right now? And of course, no one raised their hand. But then he went into what that iPhone would give you, right? An insane network of all the major influencers on marketing, a huge library of all the books he'd listened to with detailed notes about what to act on, like the entire like analytics of his own funnels and how they're performing and what they've tried and failed at. And within that 10 minutes, he had several people offering. I think he said in the book up to $750,000 to get that iPhone because of how valuable that would be. And so, obviously, a little microcosm case study, but the point there is, even if you have a product, right, you can add so much to it, so much extra value that people aren't even expecting. Where when you explain it, it's like, well, how could I say no to this?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I think that's what you want to get to, it's early days of a company product, but you want people to be like, okay, I'm buying into what you're saying. How could I possibly say no to this? I would feel foolish not to say yes right now because it's all the risk is reduced. All my concerns are eased. So yeah, sure. Let's do this.
Yeah. Yeah. And there's all sorts of ways to do it. I mean, with SaaS products, I always laugh when I see like white glove onboarding or like things like that as like the added value. You got to get past like what everyone says, right? Sure, everyone's going to help you with onboarding, but like you were saying, we do deep dives and actually propose new solutions for the ways to run process that's far and above what people expect. We can take everything that you're doing and distill it down into the best process for you based on what we learned from a bunch of different customers, and like it's that type of thing, not just like throwing on little trinkets on top of what actually won't be valuable.
Yeah. Well, I think one of the things you said there that really resonated with me too is being a subject matter expert, right? We as sellers, a lot of times, we meet with a lot of different organizations who have similar problems, hundreds of people that are trying to solve the same issues. And you see a lot of different ways that people are trying to solve that. You see different ideation that happens there, and you see where it's successful and you see where it fails. And at times, the being gently guiding someone in the right direction, sometimes a little bit more firmly, can be really important because that's a part of that consulting packaging that you're offering. It's like, trust me here. You should trust me on this. I've seen this done 10 other ways. You should do it this way. And these are the reasons why. You may not agree with me at this moment, but trust me, this is the way to go. And really just kind of trusting that gut that you are a subject matter expert. You've seen this before. That's all a part of that experience that you can provide and the value you can provide that's unexpected.
Yeah, and don't get me wrong, the trust me is an important part, especially at the beginning. But then once you build those reps in, it's like you can trust me, or you can look at all these testimonials of people that I've collected because we've helped these teams, organizations, companies, whatever it is that you're working with, go from 0 to X. And that is how you really build that extra value there too.
Certainly. I think the other thing too, as we've thought more about kind of, okay, how do we create these really, really compelling offers? What we've talked about and thought about is just, well, making a decision, especially in B2B SaaS now, is more challenging than ever. There are more buyers in the room, more decision makers, more people that can halt things, stall things out. place doubt into internal colleagues' minds. And so you have to remember that, right? You're not, the person you're speaking to isn't 9 times out of 10 is really not going to be the only sole decision maker, like we talked about in previous times, Jack. And so how do you reduce the quantity of decisions that need to be made in order to get to a final yes? So this could mean a lot of different things, right? It could mean, okay, if you're doing a per user, per seat model, okay, well, we'll give you a tiered model then. And up to X. If you have 10 seats right now, we'll give you up to 50. Does that squash any concerns right now? You don't have to, it's one static price up to that amount. Give you unlimited seats. We just create these offers that people go, well, I was worried about the additional cost and incremental cost over this next year as we add more seats or X, Y, and Z, but that's pretty much gone now. I have no concerns about that. This is a digestible price. Seems kind of foolish if we weren't say yes on this.
Yeah, and it stresses the importance of like good discovery, which is what we were talking about last time. Because you can't throw a bunch of offers at the wall and expect them to stick. Like, I won't call out who it was, but one of our vendors was basically gave discounts without me even asking. But of course, I would have actually paid the full amount. But then, yeah, I mean, if you're going to throw in a discount, well, yeah, sure. But pricing wasn't actually a concern for me, but I'm going to take it. And so, like, they just left money on the table. And, it's just crazy important when you're proposing solutions to the problems they might have to actually understand what their problems are. That's why that deep discovery is so important on the beginning.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think that's well said, right? If you just start throwing out offers, people will say, sure, that wasn't really an issue that I had, but I'm definitely going to take that because why not? And
could actually be bad, like
it could very well be bad.
It's like, oh, you don't understand why I'm concerned about this.
Yeah, like you totally missed the mark here. I'll take the extra off the top for sure. I'm going to take that. Thank you. But let's talk about my real concerns right now. And so I think, before you get into these $100 million offers and create compelling packages that are, irresistible, you got to do your discovery. You got to make sure you really understand that business in and out, who they have to go sell it to internally, what are the potential challenges they could run into. Maybe, the financial side isn't a huge concern there. Maybe it's something a little bit different. So it's always something good to say yes, but knowing what those decisions are that they need to make or what they're most concerned about and finding ways to reduce those concerns, that's a key.
Yeah, it's something I haven't perfected yet, but I don't even remember where I heard this, but it stuck with me is people make decisions based on emotion and justify it later with logic. And man, I don't have data on this, but I just feel like that's true. But as I think about it in this context and in the sales process, it's like by addressing concerns well, by articulating your value, your $100 million offer, why you'd be foolish to say no to this, you're really tapping on the emotional part, especially in a pitch or a presentation or a live call, like the emotional part of like why you have to do this now. Like this is going to benefit everybody if you act now, but then following up, whether it's on the call, email later, whatever that is, with all the logic-based things, right? Mm-hmm. The good assets, the case studies, the pricing that's really clear, everything there, because they'll get off the call, walk away for an hour, and then they need to be reminded why this was a great decision with all the logic now that they're not in the moment thinking about it. So
yeah, those logical elements help to reduce that buyer's remorse, right? It's like, that's right. Okay. I'm actually not concerned about this purchase. This is logical. It makes sense. It wasn't in the heat of the moment that I just said yes. It's actually backed up with logic. So you got to make sure you're covering your bases on that front as well.
Totally.
Nice. Well, cool, man. Well, hey, this has been a great discussion here today. How to create a really compelling $100 million offer. Cheers to that. Remember, it's about give something away for free, get those results, create packages that include unexpected value, making it super, super easy to say yes. But of course, making sure you do your discovery beforehand so you know what they are concerned about so you can create these offers here. So that was a great discussion. Thanks for joining, everybody, and we'll see you next week.
Yeah, have a good week.